Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Rejuvelation. I'm Daniel Maddox, your host. Today is May 2nd. What shall we talk about today? Well, I just happened to go see Infinity Wars. The wars without end. The wars that have no conclusion. Which, once you watch that film, is exactly the conclusion you'll come to. There's so much about that film, that DMT experience in cinematic gold print, that is the culmination of more than a decade of incremental increase in technology, in fanfare, and in art, in vision, in so much that it's more than a decade. It's almost 2 decades. Like, when did the first Spider-Man come out? When did the first real big Marvel comic book movie come out? Let's look into it. Marvel movies. In order. Alright, so. Well, they go Captain America, but that's not really it. 2008 was Iron Man, so yeah, that'd be 10 years. But Spider-Man is still Marvel, isn't it? So maybe it isn't. Either way, the franchise began long before 2000. I mean, there was the Hulk movies in the 70s with what's his name, the bodybuilder with Arnold Schwarzenegger. So it's been a long time coming in the comic books themselves. But what this movie established is, I don't even know how to put it into words, because I can't. Because there's no putting it into words. It's nearly a 3-hour film. It's something that I think so many people can benefit from if they see it. And ultimately, there's going to be some spoilers in this. Everybody should know that. This is about. There's so many issues that get touched on in this. There's the whole New World Order is brought to light in many different facets. The first one being the whole thing about bringing balance to the universe by killing people, by culling the population. So that's population control. It's one of their primary things. So as I was watching it, that's what I was thinking about. Thanos he's obsessed with bringing order to the universe by murdering half of it. And, it's kind of indiscriminate. It's very indiscriminate. As he doesn't really care who he wipes out. In fact, he gives people the choice. Join me and live, oppose me and die. And he does that on every planet. He doesn't just, oh, you're not worthy enough to join me. No, he's just, if you're worthy enough to just join me, then you're good enough to stay. So, what does that really say about him? As long as you worship him as a god, you can live. Not even the Illuminati have that kind of indiscriminate behavior. You know, they're with the bloodlines that go for them, they see it as, well, yeah, you can join us, but we're going to eliminate you either way. And think about that. And I don't know where the goals of the Illuminati end. Do they end? You know, they want to become gods on Earth and beyond. What would you say a group of people's intentions would be when they're so fucked in the head psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, in every way possible that you're left on a planet by your own family? Some are left in their original state, the Anunnaki in their pure blood state, and the rest of them are the halflings, the demigods, and they have this huge small man complex. And that's what this all boils down to, all of it. It's a Napoleon complex on a planetary scale with these rulers who basically are just, you know, petulant children who are fucking mad that they aren't their parents. They aren't allowed to leave. They aren't you know, they're not with the family. They were rejected. They were kicked out because they're half bloods. You know, they're the bastard children of the universe. As is Thanos, baby, born as a freak, the Mad Titan, the only one out of the Titans that was born differently, and so he murdered them all. He murdered them all, and then he got obsessed with getting the Infinity Gauntlet, all the powers of creation and destruction, so that he could bring balance to the universe by murdering trillions and trillions of lives, indiscriminately. And how did he do that? How did he accomplish this feat, this task? Spoiler alert, people. He had to kill Care. Gamora, the Soul Stone, the only way to get it, the only way to get the Soul Stone, pay attention to this, was to murder his own daughter, thereby eliminating Care. It was the sacrifice of Care, the same thing that they do in Bohemian Grove and all over the planet, all these dark occultists. Literally burning children alive, slitting their throats from ear to ear, so that they can accomplish their dark task, their dark ambition. Of ruling this world as the dark masters that they wish to be, that they are. Only the masters of darkness and of filth and of madness, just as Thanos. You know, when all the Avengers have Thanos and they have a gauntlet in their hand and they're almost getting it off. And then, when Star-Lord figures out that Thanos sacrificed Gamora, he ruins the whole thing. He let his emotion get in the way of the task. You know, this all goes back to equilibrium with the Tetragrammaton with what's his name? Christian Bale's character, the High Priest, where, you know, no. Oh, the whole thing without incident, the scientist says. And then you see his emotional graph going, flatline. Nope. Not entirely without incident. He cut his emotions, and he went straight to the task, and he got what he had to do done. And that's what Star-Lord couldn't do, and so he fucked it up. And that's why Doctor Strange had to sacrifice the Time Stone, so that one chance in 1 million billion or whatever it was that he told Stark, this is the only way. And it's all Star-Lord's fault because he lets emotion get in the way because he was a child, you know. The Destroyer, what was his name? I forget his name. But anyways, the other member of his team, Drax the Destroyer, he said when Thor came in and Thor was like, and he's like, oh, that's a man. And then, no, and then Thor was like, no, he's a dude. No, he's a man. You're a dude. Because you're a child. You're a kid. You never grew up. You didn't have daddy around. And in fact, you had to kill your father, Ego. And because Ego killed your mother. The levels of this movie and how much the allegory of it is just it's you have to see this movie again and again. You should only be listening to this if you've already seen it, because it's a huge spoiler. I'm just letting I'm letting so many cats out of the bag right now that they've heard it themselves. So Star-Lord fucks it up. Thanos gets the Infinity Gauntlet. Mantis can't hold him under the trance. He's admitting to everybody that you could feel the emotions, and Mantis is telling how he's struggling and he's suffering so much in agony over what he's done, which is far more than most of the Illuminati could do. I'm talking about the true Illuminati here. I'm talking about the bloodline, the one where psychopathy is literally their family trait. If not in reality, in their genes, then it is bred into them by a pure secondary psychopathic training. And they got it down in the manual. Alright, here's all the things that we need to do that even if our bloodline, our offspring, don't have primary psychopathy, we're going to make damn sure that they have secondary psychopathy to the level where epigenetics just takes off and says, alright, it is real. So Thanos had the ability to care, and he did. And he was tortured by it. But see, this is the level of it, of the brilliance of it. He feels and he cares and all that, but he still does it. And because he still has, a secondary psychopathy within him. Because if his family, if Thanos' family had loved him and cared for him and not cared that he was born deformed, Thanos probably would have had a hard time with it still being different, but he wouldn't have murdered his own family, his whole race, and this whole thing wouldn't have happened, but it did. And this is where we're at in real life. We have the Illuminati and the bloodlines who are hell-bent. And when you want to have a visual representation of what it means to be hell-bent, then you see the signs, or you see the scene when they're in Wakanda, and then you have all the Avengers and the Wakandians there, and then the two of the Dark Order of Thanos, or the Black Order, two of his underlings there, of Thanos' underlings in the Black Order, who are like, oh, we have blood to spare, or blood to spill. And then all those demons come out, and they're tearing their way through the shield of Wakanda, and you see just them just like fighting against that shield like they're murdering themselves to get through. That is a perfect visual representation of what it means and what it is to be hell-bent on something. Because best believe, those beings were not in the best state of mind. They weren't happy creatures serving a higher purpose that they loved. No, that was the hell-bent energy, focus, drive, anger. I told it to my friend who I saw it with, one of my best friends, Blake, and I said, Blake, that's all. That is what it means to be hell-bent. That is what anger and fear and hatred drives a being to do. And he said, you goddamn right. And, I could see it in his face that we both knew that out of any anger that we've had in our lives and other people, we can see this is what people will do. And we've seen it in movies countless times, in books, in all kinds of media, that when someone is on a hell-bent task, the level of depravity and terror that they will commit, not that they're enjoying it so much. It's just that this is the only path for them, because self-destruction at that level it's either they accomplish their goal of becoming God, ruling in total ego space, or they die, you die, we all die, the whole ship burns to pieces with them. And that's what we're facing. This is what we face. We face the demons at the gate, who are hell-bent to get within, without, and all around and rule it all. And those motherfuckers who serve Thanos, aka the Illuminati, and their underlings, it's just like, what was his name? Maz or Ma, something like that. The one that had Doctor Strange in the crystal prison when he was trying to get the time stone after he took him off Earth, and then Spider-Man and Iron Man are in the hold waiting with him. He's like, in all my time serving Thanos, I have never failed him. If I bring you back to Thanos without the time stone in my hands and around your neck, there will be judgment. And I can't allow that. You could see the fear and the terror in his eyes for his own skin, And that's what the Clintons and all these motherfuckers out there who serve the Dark Order and who bow to that fear, they're the same guy, the same thing. And the power that he has is the same power that they think that they have, that power of fear and control and manipulation. But if they don't succeed in serving their dark lords, their dark masters, which are basically, true petulant children who have intellect beyond anything that you can really fathom. Because the family, we'll call them, because, it basically is, what's his name? Not Marilyn Manson. The guy with the family that murdered those people in LA, was it? Charles Manson? Anyways, he called his cult the family. And they are a family. They're a family of darkness, of hatred, of fear, and all those things that humans have discussed in, and in any case, listen to these words. Dexter, that little show, the cartoon with that psychopathic kid that creates all those, machines and everything? Well, he is a representation of basically what the epitomized version of what the family wants to be. A uncaring, highly intelligent, or intellectual, not intelligent. Intelligent means that you have your emotional and your intellectual side together. That's what intelligence is. But just an intellect is just your left brain. So they want that. The other show, Dexter, with the psychopath that goes hunting down other psychopaths. If there's any psychopaths out there within the sound of my voice, why aren't you doing that? Why aren't you going hunting down other psychopaths like Dexter is? Because really, we need some people from their side on our side. We need some traitors who would rather have fun toying with the real prey, their own kind, because that's the truest hunt. No. But see, then there's the weaker psychopaths that just want, they want to deal with the easy prey. When they smell the blood and they smell the, the weakness and the fear, and that's what they jump on. But if you want a real challenge, why don't you go hunt the real psychopaths, your real prey? Because they ain't your brothers. They'll betray you at the drop of a hat. But as long as they all come together and agree, see, this is how it works. Bunch of psychopaths get together somehow because they realize it's a better way to survive, and they say, "All right, we'll protect each other. We belong to a brotherhood." It's like every single uh, James Bond episode. Every time they talk about all these shadowy underground groups, they're protecting each other just because that's an easier way to go, because they know they're not going to change. They know they're not going to, turn a new leaf all of a sudden, although some do. Most only at death's door. And it's not death's door when they get shot or, killed in some way like that. It's when they're on death's bed, when they're weak, when they no longer have their strength of will. And this is how it always breaks down, because you can have your mentality about how life's going to be and what you're going to do while you have your strength, while you have your health. But as soon as that all fades away, then things change. Y'all might be pretty surprised to know that Thanos, after he brings order to the universe and kills half of it, he becomes a simple farmer and leaves the Infinity Gauntlet and all that. A simple farmer. So, this is one thing that, the allegories on top of allegories. If you don't have your armies and you don't have your goal, and after you've done all the terrible things in the world, you just want to be left alone and you want to live in peace and you want to do simple things. But when you're young and when your hatred is your fuel, the things you'll do have no limit, no barrier. And what else can I say? Gamora asked Star-Lord to kill her. If Thanos gets to me, which he will, because I know I still love him, and he found that out after he used the Reality Stone I think it was a Reality Stone, to make her think that she had killed him, but she didn't, and then she was crying over his dead body, and he's like, "I knew you still cared," in the background, out of the scene, because it was a shield over reality, and it hadn't actually happened. And Thor having his moment of weakness and of where he wasn't completely convinced of success and everything, because usually he's the most charismatic, totally I can do anything, that's what everybody loves so much about Thor, is that he's never the guy that worries. Well, that's not true. He did worry a little bit in Ragnarok and in this movie. So there's these little moments of doubt and little moments of fear, but there's always someone there to pump him back up. And the lightning strikes again hard and quickly. So my suggestion is that when you see this movie, you have to see it from eyes that are inclusive of our situation now and in the past and in the future. Because movies these days, the good ones, they're fewer and far between than you might imagine. But I'd say that this is probably the best movie made in the last year, at least. Because before that I would have said that Ragnarok is the movie. Thor Ragnarok was the best movie before that. And then before that, I'd say the best movie was probably Logan. So yeah, obviously I'm a comic book movie fan. But only because these movies have such profound lessons and meanings and messages. So, as you see this movie, if you haven't already, see it again and again and again. Because the greatest message of the movie, basically, is that to attain ultimate power, at least in the physical plane, you must destroy care. You must destroy love. Which can't be done on the grand scale, but it can be done within the individual. At least the actions with which you take the actions that you take can be lacking care, can be lacking love. And you can actually murder care within yourself if you stay in secondary psychopathy long enough. To actually bring care back would take a long time. And for a lot of people, those who stay in secondary psychopathy motivations for long enough, it would be death before they would ever actually get out of it and change. Because to break out of it would mean, shattering their life as they know it. And there are more people than not that would rather die than face that, than actually go through that great work, go through that great culling of the demons within. And there are demons within, okay? Even if you're born on a completely blank slate and you have a great family, there are still demons within in the form of our broken genetics. The upwards of 4,000 genetic deformations within us that are a result of our genetic manipulation, in which our creators didn't give a fuck if we had, a few things here and there wrong with us. We only had a lifespan of 120 years maximum anyway, so what does it matter? And I say that with the caveat, maximum 120 years, that through epigenetics and through diet and through meditations and through an environment and all this, those things could be overcome. But it is not an easy task. And everyone that you're with has to be on the same level because epigenetics is a cumulative effect. You have to reach a certain point before the whole species gets the code. It's like the 100th monkey effect. Once they all learn it, then it breaks free to the other ones with the energy. It's like this. It's like imagining that once 100 computers get this one code, and those 100 computers spread through a network, then the rest of the computers will just have the information through osmosis, because it'll have transferred to all those computers through the Wi-Fi, through whatever. The Wi-Fi could be the epigenetic code if you want to put it that way. Hold that thought. Epigenetics, man. Epigenetics. You change the way you perceive, the way you feel, and you get enough people to do it, it can change realities. The 100th monkey syndrome, or effect. There's so much that we can do, both individually and as a group. But really, it comes down to the individual empowering themselves to a level which will lift off their life, which will separate them from the herd, let's say. And, get offended of that as you like, because we are facing the herd. Because the herd mentality is so strong. So many people who absolutely refuse, will not diverge from the masses, from the mainstream. They would take death. They would fall on the sword long before they decided to do anything on their own, think on their own, act on their own, even feel on their own. I mean, think about that. Think about how emotionality, even in and of itself, besides being curtailed by all these drugs and all these, psychological warfare tactics, it's being controlled in a mass way. 9/11 is a great example. How the whole country was, 9/11, terrorism. The emotions were played on so hard, and everybody was, if you didn't have that emotion, if you didn't feel about it that way, you were instantly ostracized. And people were disconnected for life after that, because that was a huge trauma. And if you didn't share in the trauma, then you were out. You were gone. You were buried. It's like being discommunicated. What's that called when you're kicked out of the church? Excommunicated. It's like a cult, like the Mormons. Like once you leave, or like Scientology, once you leave, you don't exist to them anymore. And the mass herd mentality is almost the same way. You know, once you leave, it's like, oh man, you're gone. It's like when I went real heavy into voting for Trump, and I was all heavy on Facebook telling everybody that why Trump was necessary and why they should vote for him and why this, and that. There's several friends which I love dearly which haven't spoken to me since, even though since then I've reversed that opinion and come out of being for the government in any way at all. So, there's no political party, there is no politician that I support in any way. No government. I'm not a minarchist. I don't believe that there should be minimal government. I believe that there should be no government whatsoever at all. Not even the postal service. But even since then, I've been excommunicated by so many friends that I held dear, and I understand. But now it's like I'm even in a greater hot water seat. I'm in the hot seat even more. Wait, you don't want any government? You're an anarchist? Yeah, you goddamn right. I'm an anarchist. I'm someone who doesn't believe in masters or slaves. Hence, anarchy, anarchist. No archons, no rulers, no slaves. This is how the word game is played. This is how sorcery works. The dark occult is all about making you believe that which is not true and making you refuse to believe that which is true. So, so much of that is in this film. The dark word sorcery. The games that people play within themselves are not the games that they have chosen, the games that they created themselves. They're stepping into a game of Monopoly where everything is rigged against them. And even if they succeed, even if they accomplish everything that they wanted to in the business world or in their finances or whatever, or spirituality, let's say, the things that they think that they want to achieve, they're still at the behest of madmen. They've still only succeeded in the way that they've been allowed to succeed, which tramples on the rights of others, their honor, their dignity, their livelihood. To win in this society is to crush and destroy others. Hence the whole ideology of Thanos. Join me or die. He doesn't have any prerequisites, just join or die. And in that way, he's a lot more forgiving than our own system, because you join or suffer and die, but they want you to join in a very specific way. Everything is tiered to the T. How you're going to do it, and what exactly you're going to get with what exactly you do. And I'm not making excuses for Thanos or putting him on a higher pedestal. He's still an absolute madman. That's why his name is the Mad Titan. So the movie concludes with Thanos completing the gauntlet and wiping out half the life in the universe. The Avengers come out of the forest of Wakanda. They're like, what happened? They don't know what's going on. What did we lose? I forget who asked it. I thought it was War Machine. I think he's like, what happened? Did we lose? And then who said it? Was it Nebula? One of the girls. I think it was forget her name. But she's like, oh my God, he did it! He did it! He wiped out half the life on Earth just by snapping his fingers with the Infinity Gauntlet. And here's another thing. How did Thanos get the Infinity Gauntlet? How did he get the power? See, when you have the stones, even if you have them all together, without the gauntlet to complete their powers, and enhance their powers, pretty much doubling their powers, you couldn't have defeated even the Celestials or the other semi-demigods of the universe. But he needed the gauntlet. And how did he accomplish this? How did Thanos get the gauntlet? By going to people who created Starkiller weapons, who created, Thor's original hammer, and they created all these crazy weapons, the dwarves. These people who were obsessed with creating weapons and obsessed with creating weapons of mass destruction. And Thanos basically gives him an ultimatum to the main dwarf. He says, create the Infinity Gauntlet and I'll let you all live. As soon as he creates the Infinity Gauntlet, he kills every single one except for the guy who he made the deal with. You're not going to defeat evil in any way by aiding it. It won't happen. It can't happen. So pull back your support and your participation in this game of madness and annihilation, because that's what's really going on here. We're in a game of madness and annihilation. Every single game of Monopoly I can remember playing as a kid, somebody would gain the upper hand to such an extent in the end that people just didn't want to play, and they sold or traded all their stuff to that player just to end it quickly. And I remember doing it myself plenty of times, because Monopoly can draw on, and that wears heavily on people's minds and on their souls and their spirits. So they give in, they sell out, just to end the pain quick. Just to get the executioner's axe instead of the decades in the torture chamber. And that's fine if you're one guy, one person, and without anything else riding on the line. But that's not the situation we're in. The situation we're in is that every single person that gives their energy and submits their power and their will on the altar of these dark occultists for their use, for whatever reason that you did it, for whatever pittance of security or feeling good or not being tortured, is another warrior of our cause gone to them, no matter how you look at him. And the Illuminati and the New World Order cannot be defeated by continuously feeding them. You don't defeat the beast by feeding it. Okay? Unless we're talking about, Dragon Ball Z, when there's a guy who feeds on energy, and his energy has a limit to what he can take, and then, they output their own energy to feed it so it explodes. There are ways in which it could happen. But the New World Order has no limits. They can take whatever you give them and keep going. In terms of your energy, it won't work that way. So you got to pull back your support. You got to pull back everything that you do for them. Every little piece of your soul that you just forfeit to their cause has to be retrieved, and it has to be integrated back into yourself at levels never before witnessed or imagined. Okay? So that's the lesson. The Avengers are not our saviors. They're allegories for each one of us as individuals that need to come together and ultimately fight this evil together. Because we're not going to do it alone. But if you're the only one of your family or your friend group that is doing this, do not feel discouraged that you're the only one. And if you can get no one else, that's not on you. You tried, and that is your legacy. And for my part, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep talking about it. I almost just enjoy, although I always get this sense of dread and, it hurts to be the only one in the room that talks about these things, and everybody looks at you sideways like, oh, there goes Danny again. Whoa! Don't know what he's smoking, but I ain't trying some. Like last night, or the night before, I talked about Atlantis. I talked about the pole shifts. I talked about alien visitation and genetic manipulation, Michael Tessarion. And the person that I was telling it to, and, the person that I was next to, they were looking at each other like they were humoring me, and they weren't outright denying any of it, but you could tell in the demeanor and the energies that they were both giving off, like, ooh, it's like, okay, it's like talking to a child that's talking about something that is completely false or totally off the reservation in some way or another. And it's like you're humoring them, but it's condescending in so many ways. Anyways, this is my short little review for Avengers Infinity Wars. There's going to be a second part. In this one, they pretty much lost completely. But, like I said, Doctor Strange knew that there was only one chance in a million, and, he took it. He had to take it. And that's what we wait for next year. Until then, look for allegories, integrate them into yourself, learn to see them, learn to see the symbols. There's symbols everywhere. Written form, spoken form, in every way imaginable, the symbols exist. Symbols are a far greater language than any that you and I or anyone else uses. Symbols actually goes like this. There's spoken language, then there's symbols, and then there's sigils. And sigils are like combined symbols. And if there's anything greater than that, I don't know about it, but like if you become a master sigil reader, I mean, you're the page master, baby. You're just out there, like, totally on. Just everything that you see is like, you've decoded reality to such a degree. That's what the whole temples are in Egypt, and their hieroglyphs, Those are combined sigils. And they could walk into a room, like the Temple of Luxor, and, what was that other one? Karnak. They would walk into those places, and every room was filled full of sigils. And they would literally, in their mind, it would be like they're in a virtual reality beyond virtual reality. It's just infused. It's like in Battlefield Earth when the main character is sitting in front of the learning machine, and he's learning the Cyclo's language and mathematics and everything with beams of light just totally in it. That's what sigils are. When you're really focusing on it and meditating on it and contemplating. Because, contemplation is a greater form than meditation, because you're not just closing your eyes and thinking about it, you're really just visualizing everything that could mean, and everything that it does mean, and everything that it integrates with. So, long story short, Avengers Infinity Wars is a sigil. It's a movie full of sigils, full of allegories to the brim, and I can't recommend it enough. Go see it again. Integrate it into your life. This show is about thought, emotion, and action. Any one of those things divorced from the rest, is a mistake. There's no action that you can make devoid of intention and emotion that, will be correct in the long run. Or there's no thought that you can have combined with emotion, but devoid of action, that will do anything in the world, really. So it's a trinity that any one part that's dislodged from it no longer really exists. It's just 2 points that fall short in almost every respect. So thought, emotion, and action, this is your task. This is my task. It's the world's task. If only they'll take up that challenge, pick up that cup, drink from it all the way. There's only 2 mistakes one can make on the road to truth. Not starting and not going all the way. The words of the Buddha. My name is Daniel Maddox. Thank you very much for joining me. This has been another episode of Rejuvelation.
Just a minute, I know that it'll surface. So let me just hang out for the night. It serves a purpose. Lets me take a break, and I might not think it's worthless. In the morning I can fight it. In the morning I'll rewrite it. Shh, I don't wanna talk right now. Got enough to think about, heads in the clouds. I don't even wanna think right now. Got enough to worry about, gotta keep it down. gone off, so it's about time.